Girls of Reddit, what's the hardest part of being a girl? When you pee and the outer labius get in the way, and you end up having like 3 different streams of piss, and one of them ends up being just the right angle to drip on the outside of the toilet. And then you see all the only guys will understand above a tap with the stream splitting into 2. Like no, I can't count the amount of times I've peed on the cheeks because of the double stream. Lmao. Never thought I'd say that on the internet. I am a computer science major. I build PCs, program, do game dev, all kinds of stuff. I also used to be on a first robotics team. Basically, I know my way around tech. Every single time I go into a Fry's or Microcenter with any male person, even if they do not speak or show any interest in what is going on, employees talk to them. As I ask a question, the employee answers to my male friend. So annoying. Time of the month. But the thing is, if we don't get one, then we would probably think, oh crap, am I pregnant? We just can't win. And no, we can't hold it in like urine, it just blobs out. It just blobs out is the most accurate description I've heard about how a period feels. Periods, especially if you have really bad cramps. I have endometriosis and it causes horrifyingly painful cramps. I swear some nights I wanted to throw up from how much it was hurting. I feel like we've kind of normalized period pain, turned it into one of those things that we just have to put up with. But I don't think we should. I put up with painful periods for a long time before I went to a decent doctor who actually showed me options. For example, I went on continuous birth control for a while that completely stopped my periods and thus all the pain. It was life-changing. I know it's not right for everyone, but there are other options too. I just want to put the word out there. Find a doctor that takes you seriously. Period pain doesn't have to be normal. When I was 17, my appendix ruptured and I didn't know it for 2 weeks. I couldn't tell the difference between an organ exploding in my body and normal cramping. I had gangrene by the time they got that bad boy out of there. I also didn't get a PCOS diagnosis until 8 years later, and that's a whole other topic. And we get them every month. What a ripoff. I mean, before I have time to forget the last period, here is the next meltdown on its way, followed by uterine warfare for 2-3 days. Being expected to nicely laugh off pervs who won't stop hitting on you. I'm not a buzzkill. Some dude sees me out with the girls, doesn't notice the wedding ring and chats me up. Either work my husband into the convo, or if he's being more direct, sorry I'm taken. No harm, no foul, but leaning in and telling me about how naughty in bed he thinks I am. All the things he wants to do to me etc. Then I'm the bad guy for telling him he's disrespectful. You're not expected to laugh them off. It's just they might murder you if you don't. Men are afraid that women will laugh at them. Women are afraid that men will kill them. Edit. This is a quote, not my own words, but rings true to people it seems. Being expected to nicely laugh off pervs who won't stop hitting on you. Used to be a server, worst part was no tip if you didn't tolerate it. Sure, my place had my back for the most part, but they didn't compensate us if they had to kick out one that went way overboard. To go along with this, guys that can't take no for an answer and think if they keep pushing they can convince you to say yes. Also annoying if you tell them you have a husband boyfriend and they lay the bullshit line of it's okay, I just want to be friends. Face with rolling eyes. Sure you do, but, and the second you try and get more assertive because they can't take the hint that you're not interested, you get labeled as rude or a bitch or called every nasty name in the book. Some will even get scary and corner you or follow you. Just take the rejection and leave. I get annoyed with the sex part sometimes. I feel like my body is so stupidly complicated at times with what it likes and wants in order to reach orgasm. I wish the vagina was as consistent and simple as dicks. Every man ever just agreed with you 1000%. A man can confirm. The fact that my sweatshirt cost as much as my male roommate's, but is like 4 times thinner. What the fuck? I think the over-sexualizing of my body just as it was developing. I received more comments and was touched and harassed by boys my age who didn't know any better. Like we aren't 7 or 8 anymore, it's not okay to wrestle with me and be aggressive just so you can grab my body parts in an unassuming manner. The straight up comments about how large my chest was when half the other girls barely had A cups. It was a lot to deal with when for all of my life that was a non-issue. I had to accept these changes and then others used these changes to either hurt me emotionally or take advantage of me. It made me wear bigger clothes to hide my body, but I was already chunky and my mom seemed to not understand I wasn't going to fit into smaller sizes just because she did. Also, my mom refused to spend the money on proper bras for my sister and I until she was embarrassed by a family member for not taking her chesty daughters to get proper bras. We were wearing sports bras much longer than we should have been for how large our chests were. D+ cups. Having to be overly cautious when walking alone, even when walking in my complex parking lot. Sometimes I wish I could go for a run at night or walk in the city. This bothers me, like a lot. I'm a guy and I go out walking all the time, even late at night, 12 AM to 3 AM. Lots of strange things happen that most people never get to experience. I had a deer and her fawn stop by and hang out a few weeks ago when I stopped to take a breather at a bench in one of the parks I regularly walk past. And I've actually gotten to pet a few friendly possums when out late over the years as well. Beautiful. I experience no issues with people. Most people I run into are dudes and are equally scared of me as I might be of them. I also carry a concealed handgun, with valid permit, so I'm generally not worried about anything. The fact that women can't experience this without a huge dose of worry and concern really makes me angry. I'm not sure what the solution is. Either I felt like I received plenty of information and training, consent from both my family and society, and I feel like this should be commonly known. But apparently a lot of dudes just aren't getting the message. I haven't had a kid, but having seen my friends go through pregnancy and childbirth, yeah, I'm gonna say having a kid, 9 months of carrying a baby around while it leeches off your body and your hormones go crazy. Then, unless you're one of the lucky ones with an easy birth, you go into the hospital and tear yourself apart pushing a baby out to the point you have to wear diaper-sized pads in the weeks following as all the afterbirth finishes clearing itself out of your system. And this is happening while you are caring for your newborn and dealing with things like breastfeeding. Plus you get postpartum hormones while you're surrounded by well-meaning friends and family members that will give you unwanted care tips, as well as making you feel like you're not a good mother because you may not have immediately bonded with your kid, etc. Like, damn man. And in all these centuries of scientific progress, they have come up with decent ways to make giving birth easier, like epidurals. But the same basic concept of pregnancy and having the baby is the same as it was centuries or even thousands of years ago. Edit. I just wanted to throw out there that I'm a woman who has dealt with some doo-doo like carrying around a golf ball-sized ovarian tumor for over a year before having surgery to remove the whole thing. I also have some issues from a spine surgery that has caused some numbness in my lower body. So I've had some of the worst UTIs because I literally cannot feel when they start forming. So I don't notice them until they become raging infernos of pain and fever and require a much longer course of antibiotics, etc. I also had to do pelvic floor exercises because funny thing about losing sensation down there, your muscles decide to start slacking too. And I'm child-free, mostly can't have children thanks to thyroid issues and the lack of an ovary. I say all the above, and I still think pregnancy, childbirth, childbearing is one of the hardest parts of being a woman. It's no joke. Literally not being able to have a friend that's a guy without people thinking we're dating. It's even worse because I'm gay and a lot of the time guys will just be like, but you just haven't met the right one. Lack of upper arm strength. Being dismissed as emotional or dramatic when you are genuinely going through a hard time or want to speak out about something. Doesn't matter whether we've actually shown emotion or not. All that's needed is for someone to assume we ought to be upset. Then they dismiss whatever points we're really making and waste everyone's time with faux reassurances. I've heard being a woman makes it more difficult to be a fan of anything considered a boy's man's hobby. Basically, if you're a fan of video games, comics, or cars, then you'll experience a bunch of gatekeeping attitudes from the guys also in those worlds. How much have you experienced that? The frustration of balancing being assertive with not being that bitch in the workplace. I want my ideas heard. I want to be respected. I want to be considered fairly for promotions and leadership positions. But if I do twice as much work as my male co-workers, I get half the credit. And if I point out my accomplishments, I have to soften them, or else I'm being a bragging bitch while my male co-workers can take unabashed credit for their accomplishments all day. The fact is that men can take up space and own their confidence and accomplishments in a way that women will be punished for. It's incredibly frustrating to try to succeed professionally when the person in charge of promotions gives me the side eye for talking about this new thing I did, and they just smile and nod when a man does the same thing. Having "are you on your period" be used as reason to dismiss all of my feelings and generally being talked down to by a lot of guys. I'm angry because I am a person with emotions, not because I have a uterus. People being immediately dismissive of your ability to doing something simply because of your genitals. I once had someone tell me I shouldn't be putting together a desk I purchased. They said I should let my BF do it. Also, the price of feminine hygiene products. The guilt and pressure of living in a society that overwhelmingly requires a two-income household to support a family but places the vast majority of childcare and household demands on the woman's shoulders. Oh, and we're taught from a young age to be pretty and polite and don't complain too much, to the extent that we will put ourselves in harm's way despite our better judgment for fear of coming off as impolite. Fuck that. Everyone else already mentioned the obvious period cramps, but I'll add people thinking it's okay to touch you without your permission. And if you state your boundaries and say please don't touch me, people will think you're a bitch. Because women and girls are trained to be nice, and standing up for yourself goes against that. Why are women's clothing so tight-fitted and also the non-existent pockets and pants? Defuck. Edit. Holy crap, I didn't expect this response to blow up to 2k upvotes. Oh. Everything about women's clothing is weird. They are cute and make you feel good, but you have to search so much, because they are thinner cloth, not durable, don't come with pockets, all the good ones don't have to fit you. Defuck score. Trying to explain about how some parts of our lives are tough because of our gender and then being told, well, what about this tough part about being a male? Edit. I think part of the problem is that people aren't taught how to sympathize and support others without inserting themselves into the issue. Instead of saying something like, oh yeah, that happens to my group all the time, maybe say something like, that's terrible and should never happen.